That question is so loaded, John. I don't even know where to start with that question. I guess the problem is, and by the way, John, I love that question.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. This is an interesting topic.
What's the solution here?
Show up, understand your part, and just crush it.
Pay-per-click, social media, we can talk about all this stuff, but what really matters is patient experience, that wow factor.
Please, are you listening to yourself? Come on.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. So sit back, take notes, and listen.
Oh, I love this. This is going to be fun.
Startup Uncensored. The questions you have with the truths you need to hear. And now your hosts, Michael Dinsio and John Bertagni.
All right, everybody. Episode 4. This is Startup Uncensored podcast, YouTube. We got a phenomenal speaker today, an expert, Steve Kikikis with OMNI Practice Group. And as always, John, my partner, thanks guys for being on today.
Yeah, Steve, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So many K's in your name. It's incredible.
Yeah. Some of my colleagues I work with a lot still pronounce it wrong after 5 years.
So let's get that out of the way. Why don't we say what it actually is? How did I do? Did I do okay?
You're fine. Yeah.
Kikikis?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, how does everybody else say it?
There's a lot of different ways. Kikikis. Yeah, a lot of that. But it's Kikikis, and I don't correct them because I don't really, I'm good.
Well,
right, thanks for having me, guys.
Dude, we're super excited. Real estate to me is really where the excitement goes because up to this point, the business plan, the demographics, it's all kind of like this fictional idea. I'm going to do a startup, but when they hire you or someone like you, the rubber hits the road. You're looking at spaces, you're getting excited, you start seeing the vision of the practice, and it really starts solidifying. So to me, real estate's that fun step, the exciting but also nervous step.
Yeah. Well, that's when it gets physical, right? Like we're actually seeing a physical space and you're imagining your life and your business in this location. So it's a huge step. It's really actually pretty emotional when people get in there and start looking around, and I had to bring myself back to that thinking, okay, this person's imagining themselves being here for 20 years,
Right. Yeah. I mean, isn't it 17.2 years or something like that? The average time that someone stays in a dental practice or at that location, it's some figure like that. So, I mean, that's insane that people are there for that long of a period. So yeah, man, this is, I agree. This is the exciting part. And this is the tangible, this is something they can feel and touch up until this point, demographics, monetary units, the vision, this is the fun stuff. So I'm going to actually jump right in with a question.
Do it. Okay. Well, should we ask about OMNI at all?
No, he's going to get into it.
I think you got that. I got that covered.
In 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes, in 30 seconds, how would you describe your firm? It's such a powerhouse in the Northwest. Let's give credit where credit's due, John. You're such a jerk. He's just the worst sometimes. He's the worst.
Yeah, OMNI's headed up by Rod Johnston. He started it about 10 or 12 years ago, and he and his team do practice transitions for dental. Yeah, and Rod got me on board about 8 years ago to help people with startups and just primarily real estate stuff, not involving the transition itself.
Gotcha.
So I've been heading that up and specializing in working with dentists ever since. 95% of my clients are dentists. The other 5% are veterinarians.
Okay.
So I've been lucky enough to be involved in a couple hundred projects over my time in the 8 years, and it's going really well. It's crazy. Things are It's going really well.
Well, you have a phenomenal name in that marketplace in the markets that you're in. So keep up the good work. I guess that's all I can say there. Now, can I ask my question?
Get into it.
Okay,
Get into it.
All right. So this is what I want to know, and this is actually what our listeners and viewership want to know. What can our viewers and listeners and partners, how can they prepare themselves for that first meeting so they actually show up with, some sort of substance, so you don't have to start and go crazy and give a, 30-minute soliloquy on what to do.
Yeah.
What can they come prepared with?
It's.
I love that look.
That's a great question.
There's a lot of little things that they could come prepared with, but the biggest thing that I like and the biggest thing that helps me is their mentality, right? I want this person to come in there like shaking me, saying, Steve, I want to find a space. I want to find it within 20 minutes or, 5 miles in my house.
Yeah.
I want 6 ops. I want reasonable visibility and parking. Go.
Yeah.
I want them to be determined. I want them to have the mindset that they are ready to do a startup and are fired up, right? What happens sometimes is you meet people that are like, I'm thinking about doing a startup, and then you're like, cool, like let's get together, and you get together and you give them the whole thing and think it goes well, and then I shoot them some spaces, and I say, hey, go do a drive by, get a feel for like what this market looks like. Go drive by, cruise by, like feel out the parking and stuff like that. And then a couple weeks later, I don't hear back. I'm like, hey, how'd that drive by go? Like, oh, I didn't do it.
Right.
Like, oh, okay. Like, I know you're busy. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, well, it's like someone going to a dealership and saying, I want a car or a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Let's
Right.
Bottom line is I'm not here to sell anybody on a concept or on doing a startup. That's not me. I don't care if you do a startup or if you want to do a second location or buy a practice. When you do come to me and you do want to do that startup, let's go do it.
Right.
You have to be in that mindset that you're ready to do this, and being in that mindset takes a while.
I got to jump in on this, Steve, because when I was a banker and even today as a consultant, they waste so much time, the professionals' time, if they don't know what they want. And I remember being a banker and I was selling them on the idea of doing a startup. And I'm like, well, wait a second. I'm the freaking bank. Like, they should be selling me. And the real estate guys, like, poor real estate guys, because they don't get paid until a lease gets done, and these leases take a long time.
Yeah.
So if a dentist doesn't come with a plan and an idea, like you said, everybody's just wasting their time, and that's not cool.
Well, but let me jump in there. It's not only wasting time, because that's one piece. And obviously Steve signed up for that. He knew that he would have to drive people around and give demographic reports. However, on the flip side, you miss opportunities. You miss that location in that prime spot. You miss that opportunity for a ground up construction that's going to crush it because they're building an entire development across the street. So that's where coming ready is very important. And Steve, I actually love that you answered that with, the mentality, because so many people think it's, here I have my business plan, here I have my money in place, here I have my vision. Those are all things that are super important.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
But the focus that I want to do a startup today, find it. I want to make one other point. You said something great there. These dentists, to you, 6 operatories, that actually means, 2,000 square feet or 2,400 square feet or 1,800 square feet. We don't need our partners to understand what that means. They just need to let you know 5 ops, 6 ops, boutique, 3 ops, and you'll figure out the rest.
I'll figure out the rest. I mean, part of that mentality does come from the dentist doing the preparation, doing the due diligence, and talking to the right people and building that confidence. Hearing that you can do this. You can do this, and talking to the other dentists that have done it, I found that people are really, that helps a lot. Because it's terrifying a little bit, right? You're starting this business, you have no idea how to do it.
Yeah,
you've been an associate, you've been getting paid. It's great. You're cruising along, but you have this idea. You want to have your own practice. You want to run it the way that you want to run it. You want to treat patients the way that you want to treat them. Have your own, have it in the image of what you want versus what somebody else's wants. But getting there, it takes a while. But having that mindset that it's okay, you can do it, I find is great. And you mentioned driving people around and wasting time. And honestly, yeah, we there's a lot of going around and showing people stuff that doesn't pan out. And
well, Steve,
first,
how many times do you? John touched on this with missed opportunity. I'm in the acquisition world just as much as I am in the startup world, and similar to startups, I want Steve to answer this. But on the acquisition world, I'll get a lot of doctors that say, I'm not moving forward with this deal because it's the first practice that I looked at. And there'll be times where they'll never find a practice better than that first one, right? Yeah. And I love that you went there, John, with the opportunity, because there really is an opportunity cost to not doing things. And I want Steve to answer this. How many times a weekday, month do you see this golden nugget of a practice and the person or the doc is just like, I don't know, I just haven't looked at enough spaces yet?
Right. I learned this the hard way because I'm like one of these people that I'm so determined when I set my mind to something that I'm ready to go, right? And my wife had to tell me a long time ago, like, don't just go show them the first best space. Like, if you know that space is giving out $200,000 of TIs and a year of free rent and this and that, do not show that to them the first time. We're going to set up an appointment to go see the crappy space down the road. It smells like a mothball and the bum's outside.
Right.
And then we're going to go pop over there and so you can see the light.
Yeah.
So I do that a little bit, I try to shy away from it, but I think that people, it's more than just showing them the perfect space at first. It's just an understanding for the market, right?
Well, I'm sure
they need to feel confident about the market.
I'm sure what you do though, Steve, is on that particular day, you might show 3 and, the shag, carpeting, and no TI, and then the golden nugget, as Mike called it. And a good friend of mine, Chris Archuleta, told me one time, if people wait for the next best thing, they're never going to move on anything. So, I mean, that almost needs to be stated right from the get-go to these guys. Like, look, we're going to come on something. Let's jump on it. Right. So when someone comes out of school, out of UVA or, NYU, and they want to go out your way, and they say, hey, we want to just be out there. Mm-hmm. How do you actually pinpoint them to not only the geographic area of Pacific Northwest, but actual cities, or actual neighborhoods? And this falls in lines with like Chicago and all these other areas, right? But how do you do that?
That is one of the things that has blown me away the most throughout throughout the last 8 years is I'll meet somebody that has came here from Houston, Texas one time, and we'll meet up at a Starbucks, before COVID. And they'll be like, I came out here last year with my buddy, and I'm moving my family here. I want to do a startup. I'm like, whoa! I've lived here my entire life, and I cannot imagine moving anywhere else. And these people with this mentality that they're coming from all over to come to the Northwest. They've been out here like they've been to Seattle once, twice, and they're ready to pack up their family and move here. That's such a strong-willed thing to do and such a huge step. It terrifies me to like think about moving from Edmonds to like, Mukilteo. But
I mean, that's a lot of pressure on you too, Steve, to figure out exactly where to put these guys.
I get excited about it. So essentially, I want to know, what you're into, right? Are you a family person, right? Do you have an idea of where you want to live? That's kind of where I start with. Like,
right.
Where do you want to live? And how much time do you want to spend driving, frankly? Because if you're interested and open to driving 2 hours a day and you want to live in Kirkland, then we can go anywhere. If you want to live in Kirkland and drive for 20 minutes, right, then it's a different story, right? We're narrowing that down. And so I kind of think about it based on commute. And also, what's the best opportunities within that commute area? Where's the spaces at? And then a lot of that does come into play with the demographics. Because if people come to the table with already some hotspots selected, then we can talk about that. And then if they don't already own a house, we can say, well, maybe you do want to live closer to Maple Valley, right?
So maybe. Do you recommend, and this is just a great question, and Mike, I mean, I'm actually commending myself on a great question. I don't know if you noticed that, but this is a great question.
I'm used to it.
Do you guys recommend the dentist living in that community where they're setting up their dental practice?
I don't know. I don't recommend anything on that matter.
All right, Mike, do you recommend that? And I'm going to then tell you a story about, because my dad didn't like it. He wanted to be a little bit removed, but also there, so he didn't see people in the grocery store. That needs to redo a tooth or something.
My thought is
it's an opportunity.
Here's my thought. I feel like if you can stand it, do it, because it'll differentiate you from the corporates. And in corporate dentistry, the corporate dentistry world, when you see your dentist at the grocery store and they're saying hi, that's a bond that no corporate could ever have. Yeah. So if you can do that, eating spaghetti and meatballs at a local spaghetti joint, like that's stuff you can't buy, you can't market, you're living it. But I could see why not seeing your patients every day would be nice. I could see that, but I would side towards living and breathing your area.
I like it too, especially in urban settings or obviously small towns. You don't have a choice, but it certainly works.
In the Puget Sound, I mean, what's the odds you're going to run into people you recognize anyways? There's so many people here, and you're going out for coffee. I mean, I personally, if it was me, I would want to work where I live.
Yeah.
If I run into somebody I know, fantastic, and they could be, oh, that's my dentist. I'm like, yeah, what's up? Bring your friend in. What's wrong with that? I think not for everybody though.
That actually brings up a question that I have. So why the Pacific Northwest? Like, it is such a rich community. We have other real estate partners across the country. This is kind of like your moment to sell the Pacific Northwest. And I live here. It's phenomenal. I think people do really well here. It reminds me of a mini Silicon Valley. We got Google and Facebook and Microsoft. We got all these big tech companies coming in. A couple things. Why the Pacific Northwest? And I just dropped my idea. But number two, the marketing or how you're going to differentiate yourself to try to gain patients is different here than it might be in some other parts of the area because of maybe the tech stuff. So talk a little bit about that, Bud. Like what kind of conversations do you get into with folks trying to set up shop?
Yeah, I mean, from people that are out of town, I ask them why all the time. And essentially it's like they're relatively active or they want to live in some sort of more of an active environment. And we have the mountains for hiking and skiing and snowboarding. We have the water right over here for sailing, and you're not swimming in it. Not very many of us, but there's the ocean not too far away. There's just a lot of hiking. There's a lot of opportunities to get out and breathe fresh air and go get lost in the woods. And I don't think people really do end up getting lost in the woods or like really taking advantage of it. But the opportunity or the idea that it's there and you could tap into it if you do have that rogue weekend that you're available, I think that's kind of what people are gravitated towards. Just the idea that if I wanted to, I could go out and go on that hike, go in the woods and be around nobody.
Right.
That's kind of a feeling I get. But the growth in Washington and Puget Sound's crazy. It's been crazy for the last.
When you say crazy, what do you mean by crazy? Like how many? Do you have a number of how many people are moving to that area? Do you have because that actually you're able to back into how many new dental offices it sustains, right?
Seattle, they're putting up apartments, buildings left and right.
Yeah.
Bellevue, and then so the downtown corridors are growing. I don't know what percentage. I can't keep up with it anymore. But like last I looked, it was like 30% each year or something like that.
Yeah.
But then we go out to places like Maple Valley or East Kent, and you have these pockets that are being created where there are these urban centers with houses all around them, and there'll be no dentists there yet because it's a fresh area. And
that's why we recommend from Mike and I's perspective that you utilize an actual real estate group that focuses on healthcare, right? Because you guys understand those pockets. You understand that vertical living, meaning apartment buildings, and then sprawling living, meaning new communities, what that actually means in terms of potential patient flow to a practice, right?
Yeah.
And so those developments about in advance, or I hope you do, and I know you do, that you could help guide some of these people. Tell us about how your interaction with new developments and understanding of new developments, how that helps create potential opportunities for your clients.
Yeah. So I've been involved with residential real estate since I was I think 19. I got my license.
Wow.
And I went to school for urban planning, and I've been obsessed. I'm pretty much literally obsessed with housing and commercial property. And I realized
I'm obsessed with food, by the way, Steve. I'm obsessed with food and music.
I don't want to go there either. Don't get me in front of some chicken wings. The guys I know, don't get me in front of some chicken wings, all right? I had to learn how to make it.
This is true. This guy, John, can eat a crazy amount of chicken wings and crawfish. True story.
Don't get me in front of some crawfish either. That's another trouble spot, man.
This guy had a pile of food at our last crawl. What was that? A crawl?
Crawfish party.
Crawfish party. Unbelievable amount of consumption of food. This one. Anyways.
Yeah. So I think what I was talking about was so finding. I've been obsessed with these areas of growth and understanding why it's happening forever, and I'm obsessed with commercial real estate for the last forever, and I think it's. Everywhere I go, I'm just looking at the buildings. I'm looking at the houses and trying to look at the road, and I'm just, my world revolves around that personally, and knowing that I'm always looking for these opportunities and being working with dentists for this period of time, I'm starting to. I know where some of them want to be. Right, I understand that some of them might want to be in downtown Bellevue, and hey, if you have that mentality and if you have that ability to market, go for it. But if you're looking for an area with less dentists, right? I'm gravitating and I'm knowing of where these pockets are just through time and experience. And luckily, a lot of brokers know that I work with dentists, and so people will email me, other real estate brokers, every little once in a while, saying, "Hey, we got a project here, and we're willing to give your tenant $100,000, $200,000 in 6 months of free rent."
Yeah.
If you're a dentist. And so I have those little, pockets of knowledge and just driving around knowing about it.
Actually, that reminds me of something. And that experience, by the way, is invaluable for a doctor and a dentist in general. Like that's really something. John, you got something on that. I can see it. I got a good question, but let's keep rolling with that.
Well, what I wanted to say was to our listeners and followers, that TI and that free rent is all part of the process of what a real estate broker does for you guys, right?
Yeah.
So, we can't, obviously finding the space is one piece, but the negotiation of the lease and then the terms of the lease that actually impact your cash flow, that's massive. So
Yeah.
It actually makes or breaks the deal. And
from
and
underwriting, dude, it's huge. They see that you need that ramp up of patience, but you also need that runway of lack of cash flow outflows, right?
Well, the bank is saying yes or no, but like the reason why a bank would say no is because it's a bad idea or a good idea. So forget what the bank says. I think all of us put way too much weight on the banks in general. Like, is it a good deal or isn't it? And the real estate decision literally sets the tone for the entire first maybe 3 years of the success and profitability of that practice. Yeah. We talked about this with Joanna Valentine, Dr. Val, in episode 1. Yeah. She signed a lease, Steve, without having banking or any business plan. She was up a creek, and she just made that decision, and it could just make or break the entire entire profitability of the whole model.
Well, she had the mentality that she was going to do this, and nothing's going to stop her. And that's great, but a
little aggressive.
It was
the extreme of what you said. The extreme.
I love it. But the thing is that I think for real estate brokers, I truly think that finding the actual space. Yeah, I know where there's opportunities, and I understand like what a dentist might be looking for, but the difference between Joe Blow and me finding a space, if the doctor knows where they want to be, it's not substantially different.
Yeah.
When we're finding a space and actually wanting to put an offer on it and saying we envision Doc envisions her being there, that's a different story. I think that's really where my background in working with Rod and the team on the transitions for a long time and seeing what is beneficial at the very beginning, right? And what's important at the very beginning of signing that lease. What do we need out of that space right now? What about economics, plumbing, all that type of things. And then what do we need out of it at the end of the lease when they're trying to sell, right? Mm-hmm. What's the assignment clause look like? How many years are left? How many options do we have left? And that's the stuff that my background and understanding of that, I put forward all that information in the letter of intent, which is the first offer we submit on a space when we're serious. And I square away the major terms that I know are hiccups for these projects within the first couple weeks. And if you're somebody, Joanna, she didn't do that, then her attorney hopefully goes in there and tries to do it afterwards, right? And then the landlord might say no. And I've done that for free. It's taken me 2 weeks, and I've determined if they're open to having options to renew. Because if they're not, we're not staying here. Right. If we're not locking in the rental price for the next 15, 20 years, let's take another step back. If we're not getting some free rent, if we're not getting the assignment clause so the doc can sell and move on in life, right? Let's move on. Or let's consider moving on, because the attorney's not going to get it. They're just going to piss them off later, right? If I can't get it, let's
and you're burning through cash on an attorney to go through the same progressions that you're going through.
You're burning so much time and money.
An hour. Yeah.
You're burning so much time and money. You've invested in the space planning. You've invested in your attorney fees.
Yeah.
Let me square that away right up front. There's a bunch of stuff that I've learned. So number one, when I got into this business, I realized I knew nothing about dentists, right? And so Rod said, surround yourself with the best people in the industry, like Mike Dinsio
Oh,
the designers, and the contractors, and the attorneys that are powerful in helping the community. And so I did that, and I ended up just saying, you know what, I have this letter of intent, this offer that I represent dentists with, but I need your help. I want it to be better. So from a contractor standpoint, how many months from signing that lease to being open does that take? Typically about 6 months. Okay, so I need to be getting a minimum of 6 months of free rent for that dentist for them to have some parameters that it might work. Oh, what's the size of the water line, right? Like, how much water does the dentist need?
Yeah.
1 inch line minimum. How much
right.
electrical?
Steve,
We
I got a
go into
question.
the nitty gritty of all that stuff with these contractors and attorneys and everything. So, yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
No, I think you make a great point with that. There's so many little mechanical things that your experience really differentiates you as a healthcare real estate guru, and that's what you get with pros like yourself in every market across the country.
That stuff's not fun to deal with. It's getting into this stuff. It sucks, and the landlords don't want to talk about it. They much rather have their broker represent that dentist and have them sign the lease, and then who cares if the floor is ADA compliant? Who cares if they get the assignment? Yeah, they shelled out the TIs. So what those guys will push is just the TIs and throw this TI in front of them. But you have to have somebody on your side that knows what the nitty gritty is and can watch out for that on the front end.
That's funny that you say that. That's funny you say that because I'm getting right into that. So you just said it's super hard to get into the nitty gritty, right?
Yeah.
But you get paid at the end of the deal. Is that right?
Yeah.
So
if it happens.
here's my hot seat
Compensated.
question. You get compensated. That's right. So here's my hot seat question, Steve. If you get paid at the end of the deal, and I know your integrity is like to the nines, so this is going to be an easy question for you. But for all real estate brokers, if they're getting paid at the end of the deal, what holds them back from getting into that stuff that's hard, knowing that it could blow the deal up? How do you separate, and I ask every real estate guy this question, or gal, how do you not have a conflict of interest in your own brain of, if I make this too easy or too difficult on the broker across the table, I might not get paid at the end. How do you deal with that? Yeah,
without throwing anybody underneath the bus.
No, you should. That's exactly what I do.
I've seen brokers that do what I do, dental, kind of sometimes take the easy route, right? Yeah. Don't talk about some of that dirty stuff. And I had this big, why aren't you getting into this, right? And they'll just let the attorney do it. And I guess the mindset is that I'm the broker, I found him the space, let the attorney hash out the details. And it makes me look good because I've found the space and great. And now it's the attorney, and then now the attorney looks bad or something. I don't know exactly. I don't really care about why they're doing that.
Right.
I just, from my standpoint, I know that I can be better than a lot of those people by getting into the nitty gritty. And if we don't have it work out for that space, if this thing doesn't work out this 6 months, then that dentist knows that I busted my ass for him and I protected him the entire way, and that I was thinking about them, not my money.
Well, listen,
and that's how I get their business in the future. And then how many dentists? Every dentist knows like 30,000 other dentists.
Well, and the other piece is on the backside, you getting involved in conversations on the backside because there wasn't enough, there wasn't 200 amps in the panel, or there wasn't this or that, or the tonnage for AC isn't enough for, an operator or, an OR, whatever it might be. I mean, come on, guys. Like, if you do it right early, you don't have to, come back and do it 2-3 times. It wastes so much time by not doing it right the first time.
I totally agree. I don't want to waste anybody's time. And that means the dentist, it means my time, and it means the landlord side and the other broker side. I know the parameters that they need. I'm going to ask for them. And if you tell me no, fine. If it's a physical thing, then I can have a contractor come out and evaluate those items and tell the doc how much it's going to cost, and then we're going to hammer the landlord for an extra money from them to get those things done. It's important to get into them. It's so important. I've seen people sign leases and not have electrical panels, not have ADA compliant floors, have no assignment clause, and that doesn't set them up for success. That's a huge headache, and let's avoid it. Work with a professional that knows what they're doing.
Well, and that's what you guys do, Steve, and that's what a lot of our partners do. It's important that you work with a professional team that understands the right questions to ask, that really can set the foundation, literally foundation from a construction standpoint and brick and mortar standpoint for the future of that practice. So thank you for, first of all, having integrity. Secondly, having the knowledge and the vigor to really attack this type of industry and being who you are, a beacon in the industry in the Pacific Northwest and the areas that you're in. And I can't thank you enough for being a part of this particular program. We haven't had the chance to meet. I know Mike thinks the world of you and your team, but we'll meet here in one of these days here soon. I can't wait to see you eat a pile of wings. It's going to be insane.
Hey man, come over to my house. I'll make them for you. It'll be great.
Do not get into a competition with him. Do not do it.
No, but this, we came at you with some little zingers, and it's what our listenership needs. They need to be prepared. They need to have understanding, and they need to be also have the mindset to listen to your guidance, to listen to the fact that don't go there because of these items. If you need to put a new AC system in, it's going to cost you a ton of cash. Just listen to your experts. Listen to listen to the group that you guys build. So, but Steve, great job. I thank you so much.
I love what you guys are doing. Too often, dentists are hearing so much crap from so many people, and so many of those people are frankly salespeople. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a sales person, but they're getting constantly sold, and to have what you guys are doing right now, just to have some truth getting out there about about what's going on, and understanding that it's not easy. It's not right. Clean. Getting the team around you, we're gonna carry you in the right direction to make sure you're protected. Yeah. And that's so important, and just getting the information out that like what you guys are doing, I think it's really rewarding for the entire community, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.
Everybody else I've talked to does too. So
yeah, it's great to see your face, buddy. Great to see your face and be a part of this. I know what you guys are all about. So thanks again, listeners, podcast, YouTube, MySpace, all of them. We're on everything. We hope that you subscribe and continue to follow us and be a part of this movement. Thanks again, Steve. We appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, hey, everybody check out omni-hcre.com or omni-pg.com.
That's where it's at, right there. We'll have all of the info about Omni in the description that you guys can find Steve and the entire company. So thanks again, brother.
Hey, thanks, guys. Love it.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another truth-filled episode of Startup Uncensored. Check out Startup Uncensored on Facebook and YouTube. Click like, subscribe, and interact with Michael and John.